When you get in trouble with the law, it's generally a good idea to refuse to speak to the authorities without some form of legal representation. Just say you want a lawyer and don't say nothing else until you have one. That's because you're essentially playing a game where you don't really understand all the rules, so it's in your best interest to let an expert play the game for you. But what if you didn't speak to the authorities at all? Like, you didn't even let them know you wanted a lawyer. You don't even speak to confirm your identity. When they ask you if you're pleading guilty or innocent, you offer no response whatsoever. How would the legal system deal with someone who refuses to communicate anything? This is the silent man. Not only does he refuse to allow a lawyer to play the game on his behalf, he refuses to play the game altogether. In fact, he seems to be playing his own game, the rules of which are really anyone's guess. He commits seemingly pointless crimes for reasons he refuses to elaborate on, and offers no defense when he's arrested. Not a single word does he speak. On the 3rd of December 2021, the silent man appeared in Swansea, UK to stand in traffic right outside Swansea Central Police Station. He stood in the middle of the road, blocking traffic, and refused to move or offer any explanation as to why he was there. When the police arrived and got him off the road, they asked him what he was doing. No answer. They asked him who he was. No answer. They then asked him if he was alright. Still no answer. This led them to believe that this fella was not alright, and they detained him under the Mental Health Act, probably believing they'd soon find out he was escaped from some institution. They searched him and found some identification. After looking at it, they said, "Here, hold on now a minute. Your name is David Hampson. You're not from the nut house. You're on release from prison. And you were in prison for standing in traffic, and you're here doing it again. In fact, you're in violation of a court order preventing you from doing this." The silent man gave no response, and the next day he was in Swansea Magistrates Court. When called to confirm his identity as 51-year-old David Hampson of no fixed abode, he remained silent. He put forward no defence, and when asked how he pled, he remained silent. Therefore, a plea of not guilty was recorded on his behalf. Hampson's criminal history dated back to 2014, when he was charged with 4 counts of willfully obstructing free passage along the highway. He was given a 2-year conditional discharge for this, but the following year, he violated these conditions by standing in traffic again, resulting in his first criminal behaviour order. When he continued to stand in traffic, he was given his first custodial sentence in 2016. He was imprisoned again in 2017, and again in 2018, and now here he was again, and just like all the other times, he didn't say a word. Now it'd be pretty fucked up if this fella was, not quite right, and they just kept sending him to prison without establishing communication with him. Like, can he communicate? Does he even understand what's going on? Maybe we should be figuring out why he won't speak before we just throw him in jail. The silent man was ordered to undergo psychiatric evaluation, but he would not speak to the court-appointed doctor. So how do you figure out if it's okay to imprison this fella or not, when you can't even figure out if he's okay or not? Well, the court brought in prison officers from HMP Swansea, where Hampson had previously served time. They testified that Hampson had no problem speaking, and they had conversed with him while he was an inmate. The court then determined that David Hampson was not mute by visitation of God, but rather mute by malice. He was found guilty, and during the sentencing, the judge scolded his breathtaking arrogance and insolence for his decision to remain silent. He was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. When he was released in 2024, he stepped outside, took his first breath of fresh air as a free man, and put his best foot forward on his way to return to the exact same road to stand in traffic again. He is now back in jail. So that leaves us with a few unanswered questions. Well, really just one. Why? Why is he doing this? If he can talk, then why is he not talking to the authorities as if he's trying to stay out of trouble, but then intentionally breaking the law in the exact same way over and over whenever he gets the chance? Like, he obviously knows by now that not talking isn't doing him any favours, and blocking traffic seems like something you do in protest, But if you're not going to explain it, then does that not kind of defeat the purpose? Well, there is an answer, but you're not going to hear it from David Hampson. Thankfully, he has a brother, John, who confirms that David is not actually mute. According to John, he never stops talking. John claims the only reason David keeps standing out in traffic is to go to prison. He just wants free meals and a roof over his head. Now, I don't really want to believe that for two reasons. One, the motive is being given by David's brother rather than David himself. And two, the idea that someone would have a more comfortable life inside prison than outside is really quite sad. But not wanting to believe something is true does not make it false. And this is a fairly sensible explanation. David stands in the road because it's an easy way to break the law without hurting anyone, and then refuses to speak to the authorities because he doesn't have to. There is nothing to negotiate. They have no leverage against him. They have nothing he wants. He just wants to go to prison. Standing in the road brings him to prison. Talking does not. So he stands in the middle of the road and he doesn't talk. If this is the case, that means David Hampson really is playing the game his way, and his playstyle is very efficient and very effective. He has a single winning move that he plays over and over until he wins. So far, the justice system has had no answer to this playstyle except to allow him to win and then claim his victory as their own. So how would you beat the Silent Man? I suppose you'd have to engineer the game in such a way that David Hampson did not want to win, like you made it so that he didn't actually want to go to prison. Maybe you give him a big wheel of cheese and you say, David, you can only enjoy this cheese wheel outside prison. We're banning the wheeling of cheese in prison, you see. I mean, what sort of game is this? Thousands of years of refining the rules, and this is the best we could come up with. A man standing in traffic and not saying anything. This is a fucking stupid game. Well, if you enjoyed this video, I have a whole host of others that you can also watch, and if you click on that subscribe button, you'll see the videos I make in the future, when I'm even better at making videos, and hopefully I'm richer and more handsome too. You can also follow me on Twitter to see if that will ever be the case, and until next time, stay safe. The Silent Man was ordered to undergo The Silent Man was on his way to return to the exact same star, and then refuses to speak. We're banning the wheeling of. Nah, that fucking sucked.